In this video, we'll be learning about the error of original entry. Now, as the name suggests, this error is made in the book of original entry or in the day book or in the journal, right? So, when a wrong amount is entered for a transaction in the books of original entry, day books or journals, this type of error is called the error of original entry, right? We know that whenever a transaction takes place, it is first recorded in the day book and then it is posted to the ledgers. So, when a wrong amount is entered in the book of original entry, that type of error is called error of original entry, and then that wrong amount is then carried forward to the correct accounts. So, the day book is correct, like the transaction, if the transaction had to be entered in the cash book, it has been entered in the cash book or any other book. The accounts are also right, that from the day book they are posted to the correct accounts. The sides of the accounts are also correct, but the amount is wrong, right? So, a wrong amount is entered on the correct sides in the correct amount from the correct day book, and of course, the trial balance fails to reveal this error because an incorrect value is posted in both the accounts, right? So, the debit side of the transaction of the double entry equals the credit side of the double entry, and therefore, there is no effect on the double entry and on the trial balance. Right. Now, let's understand this through some examples. For instance, purchases returns to Tom amounting to $300 are entered in the books as $30. Okay, right. So, the original value of the transaction was 300. However, it has been entered as $30, right? So, what have we done? We know that whenever there are purchases returns are always credited, as it shows a decrease in inventory. You have returned your goods to your supplier. So, your supplier, that is Tom in this case, will be debited, but not with 300 but with $30. Now, this type of error is called error of original entry because the wrong amount would have been posted in the purchases returns day book or the returns outwards day book, right? And from that day book, it is wrongly posted in the accounts as well. But now I have to correct this error so that I bring this $30 to $300, which was the correct value of the transaction. So, in order to correct this error, I have to bring this $30 to $300, right? And how can I do this? Just by making an entry on the same sides of the account that was made previously, right? So, how will I do this? I will again credit purchases returns with the name of Tom, but now with the difference between the wrong entry and the right entry, and that was $270, right? $300 less 30 would be $270. And then this correcting entry in purchases returns account will bring the amount to its original value. Right now, this credit side is $300, just like it should have been. And Tom will also be now again debited by $270, right? So, the correcting entry would be Tom debit by the difference 270 and purchases returns account will be credited by the same value $270. So, whenever there is a problem, there is an error of original entry, you always have to make the double entry, the correcting entry with the difference between the original value of the transaction and the wrong value that you have entered. Right. Now, the question is, will this correcting entry affect my profit or not? We know that Tom, being the supplier of the business, will have nothing to do with the income statement, as all the suppliers are shown in the SOFP. However, purchases returns are shown in the income statement. By crediting purchases returns, I am reducing my purchases, right? Because previously I just recorded purchases returns amounting to $30. Now I am increasing that value. So, I am reducing my purchases, and whenever purchases are reduced, we know that our cost of sales also falls, and whenever cost of sales decreases, our profit increases, right? So, by correcting this value, I will increase my profit. Okay, now let's understand this from another scenario. For instance, if now the purchases returns to again Tom amounted $30, but however they were entered as $300. Now how should I have corrected this value? For instance, purchases returns, again I have correctly credited purchases returns, but I have used the wrong value, which is $300. and I have debited Tom as well, but with $300 instead of $30. So again there's a difference of $270 between these two values. Right now I have overstated the value of my transaction. Previously I had understated the value of my transaction, and I corrected this by making the correcting entry on the same sides of the account so that I can bring the wrong value to its original value, right, to increase it. But now I have overstated the value. So how can I correct this type of error? Now in order to correct this error, when you have overstated the value of your transaction, now you have to make the correcting entry on the opposite side of your accounts. That is, now I will be debiting purchases returns with the difference 270, and I will be crediting Tom's account with the difference as well. Now this will do what? This will bring the value of the transaction to its original amount, right? So 300 less 270 would be $30, which will be transferred to the income statement, right? And in this account as well, this 270 will be subtracted from 300, which will show $30 on the debit side, the original value of the transaction that was for purchases returns, right? So now the correcting entry will be purchases returns will be debited by 270 and Tom will be credited by 270 as well. So the amounts remained the same in both the scenarios. That was the difference between the correct and the wrong amount of the transaction. However, the double entry, the accounts have now been switched, or you can say reversed. Previously Tom was being debited in order to increase its value, the value of the transaction. Now Tom is being credited in order to decrease the value of the transaction, and same goes for purchases returns as well. Now how will this correcting entry has affected my profit? By debiting purchases returns, I am decreasing my purchases returns. Why? Because previously I recorded 300 instead of just $30, right? So the original value of the transaction, original value of the purchase returns was just 30. I overstated it. So now I am reducing my purchases returns. Whenever purchase returns you want to increase purchases returns, you credit it, and whenever you want to decrease it, you debit it. So this means that I am now reducing the value of my purchases returns, which will increase my purchases. Because previously a larger amount was subtracted from the purchases. Now I am reducing that, which will increase my purchases. And whenever purchases increase, we know that cost of sales will increase and our profit will then decrease, right? So this correcting entry will reduce my profit by $270. Okay, so what is the rule? The rule is that if the amount recorded in the day books, that is when the error of original entry is made, is smaller than the original amount. The first scenario, when the original value of the transaction was 300 but we recorded it as $30. So this is the first scenario. Whenever this happens, that the amount recorded in day books is smaller than the original amount, then in order to correct the error, you just have to make the same double entry that is on the same side of the account, but with the difference in original and wrong value. That is what we just did. And if the amount recorded in the day books, when the error of original entry is made, is greater than the original amount, that was the second scenario, when the original value of the transaction was just 30 but we recorded it as $300, then what you have to do? You have to reverse the double entry, that is, make the correcting entry on the opposite sides of the account, but with what value? With the difference again between the original and the wrong value. So if you just keep these 2 points in your mind, whenever you have to correct the error of original entry, you can easily make the correcting entry, right? So I hope that error of original entry is clear to you, and that's it for this video. I'll see you in the next one.